Saudi Arabia on the first stop of his 4-day Mideast trip. He's meeting with Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The two leaders are expected to hold talks on U.S. efforts to dismantle Iran's nuclear program, in the war in Gaza, and more. Trump is also slated to take part in a U.S.-Saudi investment conference. While in Saudi Arabia, the president spoke with released Israeli-American hostage Eden Alexander. In a post on X, the U.S. Special Mideast Envoy Steve Witkoff said he met with Alexander and they spoke with Trump. Alexander was freed by Hamas Monday. He was held hostage in Gaza for more than 19 months. Nissan is slashing about 15% of its global workforce. That's about 20,000 employees. The Japanese automaker reported a loss Tuesday for the fiscal year that just ended after slipping vehicle sales in China and other countries and high restructuring costs. This is AP News. A series of military strikes last week by India and Pakistan brought the nuclear-armed rivals closer to a broader war. The tit-for-tat strikes also brought Kashmir into global focus as President Trump offered mediation over the dispute that has long been described as the regional nuclear flashpoint. A global aviation agency says Russia is responsible for shooting down MH17 over Ukraine in 2014.
The Council of the International Civil Aviation Organization has found Russia responsible for shooting down Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. The ruling raises the prospect of victims' families being paid compensation. A Dutch-led international probe concluded in 2016 that the Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur airliner was shot down in 2014 from Ukraine territory held by separatist rebels using a Buk missile system delivered from Russia. For its part, Moscow's denied any involvement in the MH17 tragedy.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops, a high in the upper 70s. East winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 59. By Wednesday, a slight chance for some showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy skies, high of 78 degrees. And Thursday, chance for rain and storms late, a high around 90. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 64.
You've always wanted to drive a Porsche. What are you waiting for? Find your new Porsche at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Browse and test drive our selection of pre-tariff cars ready for immediate delivery, like the 2025 Porsche Cayenne. And right now, lease the 2025 Macan Electric for only $999 a month for 39 months. Shop electric Porsche models and more by visiting the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. 8,900 to signing. Excludes tax, title, license, and doctor. No security deposit required. Expires 6/2/25.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives. Yes, and welcome to the May 13th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. And I should be dropping a new Substack article tomorrow and then probably another one on Friday. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, Joan Esposito, Live, Local, and Progressive. Let's see, Driving It Home, of course, with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, and all of our other shows and interviews that take place here on the station. Check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform. Check this out, progressives.
He's the Pope. He's a Jedi. He doesn't know what the Declaration of Independence is or if he has to uphold the Constitution. Do you think Trump's amping up the crazy because people are calling his bluff, beating him in court, and have the courage to talk shit while doing it? My name is Maya May. I fight fascist with a smile, and this is how you take away Trump's power. Think back to when Maine Governor Janet Mills said to his face, "See you in court." Or when Mohsen Badawi was released from ICE custody and said, "I'm not afraid of you." That's right up there with "Make my day." Iconic lines with the law to back it up. We felt it in our bones, and I'm sure the Trump admin did too. Our courage is their kryptonite. Nothing throws off a bad guy more than their would-be victim flipping the script. When AOC says to Tom Homan, "Come for me, do I look like I care?" she's wielding her courage like a weapon. She's telling Trump, and more importantly, all of us, that we have rights and there are no kings here. No matter how Trump tries to twist it, no one in America is above the law. Wannabe authoritarians usually act within the law to subvert it. But that's Trump's fatal flaw. He's so arrogant, dragging up laws that clearly don't apply, and the judicial branch is like, nah, no, block, block. And this is why we need to throw our energy behind the courageous people who are calling Trump's bluff and taking his ass to court. People like Zaya Persian, who sued to get the right gender marker on her passport and won. Or the thousands of international students who sued to get their visas reinstated and won. Just regular folks like you and me who know their rights and are fighting to keep them. Courage is our not-so-secret weapon. And based on how the courts have been ruling, the momentum is on our side. They might have Project 2025, but we have Courage 2025.
I love it. Maya's right. Courage 2025. And the mainstream media isn't doing their doggone job to report on stories of the numbers of suits that have been filed by private citizens as well as some of the members of Congress and other state legislators and governors and attorneys general. So, mainstream media, do your job. But Courage 2025, that's what we're talking about. Speaking of courage, one of our good friends, Michelle Peltier, will be with us later in the show. We'll let you know about that. And then in the 7:30 hour, Homer Bryant, the founder of Hiplet Ballerina, is going to be with us to bring a couple of thoughts to us about the importance of arts, and particularly given what's happening now with the Department of Education. But Homer's going to talk to us about some things that are going on here in Chicago at the Auditorium Theater. So we're looking forward to that. I'll be taking your calls throughout the course of the show. So don't hesitate to give us a jingle if you got something to say or you have a question or something I said needs to be cleaned up on aisle 7. I'm always open to that. You guys know that. At the pace that we go at a live radio show, we're going to step in it every now and again. But I would rather have you guys call and talk about that and make sure that we're staying on point as best we can. So, all right, guys, in terms of topics today, we're going to talk about these so-called trade deals, and we're definitely going to also lean into talking about some things that you guys can be doing right now to help in this effort and doing what Maya talks about as it relates to Courage 2025. But let me hit you with a couple of Choose Views news items here on May 13th, 2025. U.S. and China announced a deal. We'll get into that a little bit. We've got some information to share in a moment that said would lower many tariffs between the two countries for 90 days. We've seen this playbook before. We know what happens when they do this, and that's why the markets jumped yesterday. That resets the tone between the world's two largest economies, according to the Wall Street Journal. The announcement also includes the reduction on the U.S. tariff on Chinese imports to 30% from its current 145%, with China lowering its levy on American goods to 10% from 125%. In that same conversation, U.S. stocks surged yesterday, led by a jump in the tech sector after the U.S. and China agreed to slash tariffs on other goods. But we're playing this yo-yo game with the market. It's insane. The S&P was up early 3%, putting the index back on course to rise above its, quote, Liberation Day level. Stocks in Europe and Asia also rallied, and the dollar strengthened on expectations that businesses with complex global supply chains will see relief and the economic damage from the tariffs will be lower than initially feared. Here's the key thing to that. They won't be eliminated. The economic damage won't be eliminated. That's more important than lower than initially feared. Because people have been hurt by it. Businesses have been. And we'll come to that in a moment. Trump's orders cuts to drug prices. This is a laugh. We're gonna get into this one too. Trump signed an executive order yesterday that said that would slash prices for what Americans pay for prescription drugs by as much as 90%. aligning the costs with those in other wealthy economies. The U.S. will no longer, quote, subsidize the health care of other countries. The plan, and that's a quote from Trump, the plan, which involves applying, quote, most favored nation status to the U.S. in negotiations with drug companies, would also likely be subject to court challenges and require an action by Congress, which once again, he's just stepping all over. He's stepping all over the Republicans when we say this because they have the numbers. Apple is not looking to blame their high prices on tariffs. The next iPhone models are likely to be more expensive, but you won't catch Apple execs saying the T word. Rather than attributing price hikes to tariffs and risk upsetting a delicate political balance, the company is considering touting the phone's new features and design changes as justification for the increases, according to the Wall Street Journal. In other words, they're kind of punking out. They don't have the guts to stand up and say, it's because of the tariffs, in my opinion. And are tariffs killing small business? With this apparent slash yesterday, many small businesses are still in a stall state. Maybe in many minds of many business owners, it may be too late. Nationwide, small business owners who import Chinese goods say they are dipping into their personal savings and laying off employees to try and stay afloat. Unlike bigger firms, they can't easily shift production to other countries. And because small businesses are often their owner's, quote, largest asset or only asset, going bust can have a huge personal impact on their futures. And retail properties having a tough year ahead. That's the prediction, according to major retailers and shoppers who are cutting back. Tariffs are causing a lot of uncertainty. All that's adding up to a tough time for the retail property market, according to the Wall Street Journal. The first quarter of 2025 was the worst for shopping center leasing since the start of the pandemic. I wonder why. And the rest of the year doesn't look better, experts say. But it's not all bad news. Some vacancies are hovering near record lows, and discount chains such as Burlington and Five Below are expanding aggressively. Alrighty, guys, a couple of Choose Views news items this morning before we get other things kicked off and rolling. Let's take a quick break. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is your WCPT Progressive Calendar. Wednesday, May 14th at 11:30 a.m., the Lincoln Forum and the Union League Club of Chicago present a candid discussion with former and current Chicago alderpersons on how Chicago's government really works, inside City Hall, understanding Chicago's aldermanic system. Retired alders Michelle Smith and Leslie Hairston and current alderman Raymond Lopez are among the panelists. Mike Flannery moderates. The event takes place at the Union League Club of Chicago, 65 West Jackson Boulevard in Chicago. Get your tickets on Eventbrite. Thursday, May 22nd at 12:30 p.m., the Buffett Institute and the Center for Communication and Public Policy at Northwestern University's School of Communication present America's Soft Power and Reputational Security in Crisis, a lunchtime conversation with USC Professor Nicholas J. Cull. The event is free and takes place at 720 University Place in Evanston.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Turi Ryder will be in for Joan, and her special guest will include Laura Washington, the Chicago Tribune contributing columnist and ABC 7 political analyst. Newly appointed Cook County Commissioner Jessica Vasquez will be with Turi, and Anna Clark from ProPublica, author of the recent article about Trump and the Great Lakes. Joan Esposito returns Wednesday, tomorrow, Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m., here on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. Today on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Kathy and Jerry Nash, co-founders of Prairie Food Co-op in Lombard. WHBY Outside the Box host Ben Caminos with the Wisconsin Update. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow's show, we'll have our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 will be with us. And Andrew Seligson will be with us, president of Public Agenda. He'll be talking about Public Agenda's new report, Who Gets to Learn. Looking forward to that. And we'll be bringing you those great guests tomorrow. Stay tuned, as always, for our progressive lineup here on WCPT, which obviously includes the Stephanie Miller Show, my radio sister on the West Coast, Tom Hartman Show, Professor of Everything Progressive, Joan Esposito, of course, Live Local and Progressive, and Patty Vasquez, my bookend that's driving you home. Make sure you stay tuned. Guys, listen, there are so many things to cover, and there are so many great bits of information that are out there, and I love the things that folks send me. It sometimes helps round out some of my thinking, like, oh, I didn't realize that. And so oftentimes when I'm looking at things that are current and that are happening right now, we really want to make sure that we keep giving you guys tools to go out and be. The reason I'm saying this, let me give you the base on this. I had a couple of really great emails yesterday from folks that said, can you send me this? Or what are your thoughts about that? Or here's something that I saw that you might find interesting. And the reason that I think is important is the more tools that we have that we can share with each other, the better equipped we are to deal with the folks who are crazy and or saying crazy things and or doing stupid things. And you guys know my position on that. Maybe sometimes, calling somebody stupid isn't necessarily the way to go. And I understand that. And I embrace that. But if they do something that is clearly stupid, then I think the behavior needs to be called out. You have to say, that was stupid. So tools will help you, not always have to shoot from the hip. You're a little bit more prepared. And so that's one of the things and reasons why I want to keep bringing you guys some of these little tools, these micro tools, some of the clips that we have and some of the other bits of information. So I appreciate some of the emails that I received the last couple of days where folks were saying, hey, can you get me that? Can you get me this? And I'm totally open. Anything that we put on the air for you, particularly our clips or reference points, to get those sent over so you guys are more equipped to knock down those bowling pins of stupidity. How about that? Speaking of one, let's just check this out. Let's just talk about this. And not how do I want to approach this? Okay. We know about this prescription drug price executive order garbage that Donald Trump's put out. And, Bernie Sanders is bearing witness to, the lack of clarity in this. But here's what I really want to say about it. We've all heard this phrase used before about the arsonist setting the fire and then coming back to be the one that wants to put the fire out. Kind of paraphrasing that statement. I don't know who originated that or where it came from. But look, just check this out. This is really kind of something, you guys, that I want to read to you that kind of caught my eye on the insanity and the lack of clarity and stupidity of the actions from the White House. So Donald Trump signs an executive order regarding the prescription drug prices. And that's designed to cut drug prices for the U.S. between 30 and 80%. Okay. This plan includes the most favored nation rule, tying U.S. prices to the lowest prices globally. So just keep this in mind, that President Biden signed an executive order that did this very same thing. Then Trump signed an executive order which reversed the previous Biden executive order. Now Trump signs an executive order that reverses his reversal so that he can take credit for it. Objectively, it's a good thing to have the prices lower, but it's also stupid. And what when I think about the market's performance yesterday, let's say we'll go back to last Thursday, and then layer into that, yesterday. It's stupid. Just stop using the tariffs as a tool to cause to make these threats and cause these problems. The market going up and down is not. The markets like stability. We all know this. But markets like some sense of normalcy, and it just goes to show that they're tinkering with it, with our financial markets. And the economy then is a reflection. They're not the same, but kind of a mirror reflection is responding because our supply chains are being impacted. Not going to be, but are currently. So going back to the prescription drug for a moment, Biden already essentially put in place through executive order the tools to make prescription drugs more affordable. Okay? But again, as I said, it's just a classic arsonist burning everything down and then coming in with the rescue or the perceived rescue that I'm here to fix everything. And the problem with this is that those of us throughout the country, globally, that are plugged in and understand how this works and what's actually happening, we get it. And I say we, I don't want to. We get it. Let's just keep it there. But there are a lot of people, and I would dare to say there are many of the people who voted for Donald Trump in the 2024 election that don't see the down, if you will, or the negative of this action. All they see and hear, largely perpetrated by Fox and other right-wingish networks and shows on certain networks and people on certain networks and different shows, perpetrate that Donald Trump saved the day. Donald Trump fixed something. When in fact, he's only fixing what he broke. And the evidence is there by looking at how the markets swing when he decides to come out with this, we're going to levy 145% tariffs on China, and then does a pause, and the markets suddenly go, oh, thank God, we can take a deep breath. We'll be okay for a while. But everyday folks are the ones that are absorbing the brunt and taking at the brunt of all that, because as so many of those who are capable of sitting on the sidelines and waiting because they have not only the wealth but the disposable income to take advantage of those things, they're able to sit back and sort of let this happen, not be terribly impacted by it. But everyday folks who are supposedly the new base for the Republican Party, that the every man or every woman who hasn't been treated properly by the Democratic Party only hears that things are up. And it's perpetrated in many cases by those in right-wing media or those that are individuals on right-wing shows, or people who just simply are filtering a lot of the accuracy about what's happening. And that gives people a disingenuous view of what's going on. And as a result, their voting, their belief, their ability to think rationally in these times is swayed largely because of inaccurate information or misinformation. And some might say, Richard, just call it as it is, lies. So when I said last week, don't get distracted by Donald Trump or the White House posting a meme of him as Pope, it's because I want you to pay attention to this stuff that's nerdy and nitty gritty and boring, but highly impactful. And yesterday, the young man, and I'm going to say this, the young man from Leaving MAGA said something that's I thought was really important, and we didn't get a chance to dig into it maybe enough. And that is, you do want to check things out. You do want to do your research. And every now and again, there's certain rabbit holes that you want to go down that are okay because you're going to find more information out about something. And so just on this conversation around tariffs, I hear so many people say, well, tariffs are good. If you're being responsible, if you have a voice and you're being responsible, you have to say that in a way that people don't just hear tariffs are good, because then they think that all tariffs are good. And the way the way I believe we should say it is appropriately and effectively used, tariffs can be good, rather than just these blanket statements that I'm hearing from some people on the left, center, and most definitely on the right. We're saying that tariffs are good. And then saying, but I don't agree with all tariffs. No, start off by saying tariffs used effectively and efficiently and appropriately can be good. And then, and the reason I say, mention it that way is I want folks to be willing to do more research and digging in a little bit deeper and getting a little bit nerdy on some of these things that affect your day-to-day lives. And tariffs they're not going to, they are affecting everyday lives of people right now. And but along with that, this conversation around prescription drug prices. This is just another yo-yo, bouncing ball. Get rid of something that Biden did with an executive order, to then to then break it, and then rush in and say, I've got the tools to fix it. Just don't break it. Let it be. How about this? If you genuinely cared about the country and the people that are part of the country, how about saying this? What a novel thought I'm about to drop on you guys. A lot of the things that Joe Biden did and suggested and provided were good. I'm just going to make them better. How many people would go, oh, rather than saying Biden bad, everything bad about the economy right now is Biden's fault. All the things that are good are mine. You know, that works for stupid people or people that think in a stupid, immature way. For grown folks and grown folks thinking, no, it doesn't work. So we're going to keep giving you the tools as best we can in all the ways that we can to keep you guys plugged in and focused and going forward. And hopefully that's going to give you the strength to say, yeah, prescription prices were already moving in a positive direction. Don't break it again to try to pretend like you can fix it, Donald Trump. All right, guys, let's take a break. When we come back, I got a little surprise for you guys. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Hey, get in. What? Who are you? I'm future you. Constipation with belly pain still coming back? Yeah. Mia, our doctor figured it out. She said it's irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, and Linzess could help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops, a high in the upper 70s. East winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 59. By Wednesday, a slight chance for some showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy skies, high of 78 degrees. And Thursday, chance for rain and storms late, a high around 90. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 63.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
right, guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Of course, our number is 773-763-9278. We'll be taking your calls, so give us one if you can. Send us a text message and an email. All right, guys. She hails from Kansas City, Kansas, not Missouri. She is a co-conspirator Sundays on the Family Meeting radio show 4 to 6 p.m. here on WCPT. When Choose Views host Richard Chu is occasionally away, she sits in for me, Richard Chu. She giggles, she cries, but most importantly, she is committed to progressive liberal Democrats winning the day. WCPT listeners, put your hands together and welcome to the show, Michelle Peltier, and our new segment, Moments with Michelle. Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
Good morning, Richard Chu. I feel so special. What an introduction. Wow. Wow.
Well, yeah, I figured I'd with the help of Devin, be able to kind of spice it up a little bit this morning as we, folks know who you are, but not in this format. We wanted to make it a little bit special for you in your every other week segment on the show. So welcome, kiddo. Welcome.
Thank you, Richard, so much. I'm so glad. I'm just very honored by this opportunity. Thank you so much, my friend.
You are very welcome. You are one of those folks that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and your voice and the things that you speak so clearly on and passionately on the Family Meeting. And, I said that this is a perfect time to say, Michelle, how about throwing some of your knowledge our way every other week so that folks can have a little bit more exposure to the things that you're paying attention to and some of the things that you're observing, and be able to, in your own way, talk about some of the things that folks need to hear. And so that's why I thought this would be, a great time now that we're into the spring and everybody is, kind of resetting themselves for spring and summer here in Chicago, but to all of our listeners all over the country. So thanks for being with us. And I know you got some things that you wanted to chat about and that we can kind of run down the road with. So what's happening in your world of thoughts and ideas?
I do. I have something I want to talk about today, Richard. I know it may seem like we're beating a dead horse, but this is something that's so fascinating to me. And I appreciate you giving me a little leeway and not always talk about politics. But this is kind of political to me, is what I think. One thing I want to do is correct you. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. It's the other way around, not Kansas City, Kansas.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. We're not friends with Kansas.
You're from Kansas City, Missouri? You are?
Yes.
No,
yes.
I had it wrong. Oh, see, listen, we're barely into the show, and I already have a cleanup on aisle 7.
I was like, no! We're highly offended on the Missouri side.
Oh, golly. I thought for sure. Oh, I'm hoping everybody's laughing their behind off at me on that one, because I tried to make a joke out of it, and the joke was on me. All right. Well, then, that explains a lot of things then. So there. But you are a co-conspirator Sundays on the Family Meeting. So there we go.
That's true.
So what you got for us this morning?
I wanted to talk about the new Pope and Chicago and why I feel like I know that we all think it's a big deal, but from my perspective, being a transplant, it's an even bigger deal, and I'll tell you why. Being from Kansas City, Missouri, we our population of Catholics is not that large. We're mainly a Baptist city. Mm-hmm. And so whenever anything political happened, nobody was asking our cardinal, priests, anything. And then I moved here over 20 years ago, and one of the first things I see on the news are people interviewing Cardinal George at the time, and they weren't asking him things about church. They were asking him things about politics, about what the mayor had done or anything like that. And I just found it so interesting and odd. I just didn't understand it. And then I started to do my research and found out that Chicago has the third largest Catholic population behind Los Angeles and New York. And so we are really a Catholic city, Catholic state. We have big population across the state, and it intersects with Chicago in such a way that I've never witnessed before. I'm sure people in Los Angeles and New York do, but when the scandal hit, of course, they stopped asking Cardinal George questions, right? Mainly because he wouldn't take them anymore. And then he passed away, and we get Cardinal Cupich. And then, the Catholics had been paying down those lawsuits as they should. And then they started asking the Cardinal questions again. They started asking him political questions about homelessness, immigration, our political leaders. I knew for a fact that the mayors, when they were after they were sworn in, some of the first calls they made were to Cardinal Cupich. So I just find that just incredibly interesting that Catholicism in Chicago is one of the top tier discussions that people have in this city. And so I think it'll bode interestingly for us now that the Pope is from Chicago. So that's what I wanted to talk about today.
Here's what's really interesting. Okay. There's so many things went through my brain when you were saying that, and a lot of it was visuals of our city, how the city is laid out geographically and frankly topographically. Chicago is immigration has played a big part in that because of where folks came from the east, the northeast, and even some of the mid-Atlantic that ended up being in Chicago. A lot of that is due to migration, not just to the United States, but migration from the East Coast to the central part of the Midwest. And, Chicago for a long time, because of folks that migrated, the Catholic faith took hold before the Baptist and or the Protestant sects did because of the migration from the East. That's a fact of migration to the city of Chicago. But let's just be honest. Churches have had such a huge influence on our country. The church is a centerpiece. It's the place to go to, and in so many smaller rural communities for decades, centuries. And here in Chicago is no different from that because the church has been so integral to the city's development architecturally. And that's, to me, the part that's fascinating and also very cool and lovely. And I use the word lovely because I know that's a word we like to throw around. But it's one of the cool things about Chicago is architecturally, our churches, all of them, but certainly, let's just say it as it is, the Catholic cathedrals have been part of the city's skyline. And so for me, architecturally, visually, immigration-wise, or migrating to Chicago is a unique part of our history. Even the schools. I mean, let's be honest. One of the phrases that I hear often, and you may hear this too, since you've been here for 2 decades, is which parish are you from, or are you a part of? And right? I mean, is that?
I love that. I love it. Yeah.
It's like not what neighborhood are you from, but which parish do you belong to? I think that's an engaging conversation to have. And I'm gonna throw you deep into the pool on something about this in a moment, but it's a good thing. But Chicago's politics are Chicago and religion. Chicago's politics and religion go hand in hand. I mean, if there is a city in the country that to get elected, you've got to go and sort of kiss the ring of the religious leaders, Chicago's the one.
Yeah, it's true. It's really true.
And what has been your sort of observation of that with regard to the Catholic faith specifically?
Well, so I worked at the cathedral for 10 years. I'm still a parishioner there. I'm a cradle Catholic, if you will, a person who was born into the faith and baptized into the faith. And I've been a struggling Catholic too, on and off throughout the years. But I would say, working at the cathedral and watching Cardinal Cupich, and because he lives at the rectory over there with 8 other priests and a couple of bishops. And I mean, the politicians that would come in and out of our rectory to meet with the cardinal, I never saw Mayor Johnson, but I know that they had met. They met on occasion, but it's an artery, a main artery in terms of just how the city operates, which is amazing. Did I answer the question?
Well, absolutely, and I think what's probably a national conversation about this is that we have, and this is where I'm kind of, not throwing you in the deep end of the pool, but throwing something at you that I know you've got an opinion on. You remember, we're both, chronologically old enough to remember the conversation about having a Catholic president with Kennedy.
Yes.
And then that whole sort of...
And it was bad. It was bad. People were afraid because of the Pope.
Exactly. Who's going to be making the decisions for the United States? Is it going to be the president or is it going to be the Pope?
Yep.
And so now we've seen over the years that change. And we've had just recently our second Catholic president in Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember the faiths of since Kennedy, of each probably all Protestant-esque.
Probably, yeah.
Through the years. But the point I want to make is the other big area of impact of Catholicism that people kind of, I'll say, blinked on. And I'm not drawing any conclusions or making any judgments here. I'm just saying the reality of how we've progressed is now we have 6 Supreme Court justices that Catholicism is their faith.
Yes.
And different ways of expressing it have shown, not in their decisions necessarily, but in how they, I believe, go about determining which cases they're going to take. Look at the results of what the decisions have been of this current Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, look, Catholics have our own division, right? We have progressive Catholics, and we have and I call them pre-Vatican II Catholics. They're the Catholics that want us to go back to Latin masses and go back to a very traditional way of Catholicism. And I think that, that war is alive and well in Catholicism, in this faith. I don't know if other faiths have that situation, but Catholics certainly do.
And right now, I think that, and that's kind of what I was saying about the level of its influence with the Supreme Court and the cases that they've taken and the decisions that have come out of that.
That's why I mentioned that, Richard, because I'm sure they're divided as well.
Right, you're saying the 6 Supreme Court justices that are Catholics.
Yeah.
So give, if you can, and this is probably obviously our opinions more so than something that's necessarily fact-based or where we get specific evidence. If you were to rank them in descending order of least traditional Catholic to more progressive, or put them on a scale from left from right to left and tie that to traditional Catholicism, how would you rank those? How would you end up?
I would say, let's see. I would think that Justice Sotomayor is Catholic, yes?
Correct.
I would say that she would rank number 1. I can't, who is, tell me who the rest of them are, if you know off the top of your head. Well, I know Amy Coney Barrett is not, right?
She is.
She is. Oh, she went to Notre Dame. Yes. I would.
Go ahead.
I would say she, obviously, I think she leans, because of abortion, I think that hers she leans more, obviously, to the right. So I would rank her, if we're ranking them in terms of the most progressive to the least progressive, I would say that she might, maybe she'll be second to last. And maybe Kavanaugh?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking that he's probably, believe it or not, maybe more, and he and Roberts might post up in the middle. Gorsuch, the 3 of them would probably be in the middle, and then Sotomayor would be a little bit to the left, and that Coney Barrett and Anton and Clarence would be more far right leaning. in terms of the historical sort of Catholic labeling.
Oh, yeah, you're right. When I say Sonia would be the top, I mean, she'd be the most to the left.
Most to the left, or progressive, right?
Yes, more progressive. Yeah. And I don't know that any of them I would consider them in the middle.
Yeah.
In terms of the ones on the right.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just guessing that might be kind of where they lean. And realistically, I think on a national level, the reason that's important is because so many people kind of, for lack of better words, didn't really pay close attention to that shift. That all of a sudden it was here, and now people are going, okay, what do we do with it? How do we navigate it? Yeah, so I would probably go. I'd probably, because I was mistaken. Gorsuch is not, but Coney Barrett would probably be. And Roberts, I'm sorry, Coney Barrett, Clarence, and Alito would probably be the furthest to the right. I'm going to say that Roberts might be in the middle-ish a little bit, and Kavanaugh might be kind of there as well. I'm guessing. Again, guessing.
Well, let's mention Coney Barrett one more time, because even though I think abortion is her issue, I think she's more in other issues. She might be more left leaning than we might think.
Yeah, that's a strong possibility. One of the things that's interesting about that too, though, is, and I've heard this said so many times in terms of Catholics and how they view her, is that she gets it, but she sort of boxed herself in during her hearing testimony.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And that she wanted to get the seat, so she made a point of not answering questions.
Yeah. I remember that.
So I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I'm just kind of going back on things that I read and things that I heard over time.
I'm keeping hope alive.
Well, yeah, I mean, giving credence to a Baptist minister for those phrases, i.e., Jesse Jackson. Since we're talking about Catholicism in the city of Chicago, but I think politics in Chicago and religion have gone hand in hand I can say through my life. And here's one of the big reasons, and to some extent that this could be part of the national observation, but here in Chicago particularly. Where the folks running for any big office, whether it be mayor or a state office, certainly lieutenant and governor, and most definitely the U.S. seats, the House and the Senate seats, have recognized that to get the nod or to not get the nod of the faith leaders is not a smart thing to do. At least show them even if it's during the election season, show them the respect of coming through their church or their parish or their synagogue to get the nod. Because not getting the nod is more dangerous than a lot of things here in Chicago, in the Chicago metropolitan area. Go ahead.
Well, interestingly enough, we Catholics don't endorse candidates or have candidates come to the parishes to, participate in the Mass unless it's a special event, a high holy Mass. A lot of dignitaries do come to those Masses, but even though the Cardinal is political, he has to remain apolitical, if that makes sense.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, here's another one, too. Father Pfleger has been, probably, if I don't know, I can't say this about L.A. and New York, but I certainly would say he's probably been one of the most outspoken Catholic leaders in the country when it comes to social issues. He's definitely not, he doesn't kiss the ring. He speaks truth to power.
And he's actually an anomaly. I mean, Father Pfleger is just incredible. He is really vocal. He has one of the biggest, I don't want to call it a soup kitchen, but kind of like that, where he gives out food in the city. I mean, he really does. He's a priest of the people, if you will. He really cares about that area, has helped build it up. So, and it's not usual for a priest to be that vocal, especially saying truth to power. He's a different egg, but he's a good egg. He really cares.
Yeah. Would you say that over time not over time, but just sort of looking at things over time, that African-American leaders have overused the church, the Baptist church, the black church voice, not just African-American leaders but any first person running for office have overused that, or have they used it properly, or maybe not used it enough as a means, as a tool to reaching the community?
See, this is a really good question, Richard, because I think, especially black churches, I don't think that they can be too political, because there's so many, especially where some of the churches are located. And when you think about the black church culturally in general, that's where everything used to, and still in some form or fashion, that's the nucleus of the community, right? And so, yes, I never thought it was too much. I thought it was different. I didn't understand until I moved here why there was such a separation, as opposed to Catholics and Baptists and other people who have political leaders come to their churches, because, like I said, Catholics don't do that. But I don't think it's too much, because in some instances with the black churches, they won't get any other information but at church.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important. I don't think it's too much.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that during the election season that has happened over the years, certainly in our lifetime, is that one of the complaints, if anything, is that that's the only time that the politicians come around. But
that's true, and that's bad.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's a drag on the system, because the request for the votes and the support should be 24/7, 365, rather than just during the election season. And the national politicians haven't done any better either.
Mm-mm. See, but I think we have to continually ask them. I don't know if that's happening or not, and they're telling the politicians no, but we know that we have that we can capture a politician during election time. But I think that we need to keep having them come to these places and having them talk to people, even if it's their representative. That's the way we know that they're keeping their word to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way we hold their feet to the fire. I think because I think we all participate in that election dance, Richard, right? We're excited that it's election time, because we get to see politicians that we wouldn't have ever seen any other time of the year, and they're willing to do it because they're running. And I think it should be a year-round, constant relationship, not just election time.
Yeah, without a doubt. Michelle, good to have you with us this morning. Good to have you bring us a topic that a lot of people don't want to touch. It's a third rail topic for sure, religion in general, but the Catholic faith here in Chicago, and certainly the broader Catholic influence on politics in the nation. So thank you for taking time this morning to have a little giggle with us this morning, and set the record straight that you're from Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes,
Kansas City, Kansas.
Yes,
Oh
Missouri. I say Missouri. Missouri. People from downstate call it Missouri.
I had to do that just to have some fun with it. It's Missouri, y'all. Michelle Peltier, Moments with Michelle. Thanks for being with us this day. We appreciate you being out there and hanging and doing all the good stuff that you do, Michelle. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, WCPT. Everybody have a great day.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye. All right, Devin, let's take let's hold on to the top of the hour. Let's grab a quick call, if we can, from Dave. Hey, Dave, welcome to the show. What's happening this morning?
Hey, good morning, Richard. Hey, you should know Michelle is from the Filmy State.
What's happening? You got some questions or comments around Trump's tariffs?
Not that one. I was just going to mention, remember the old, when I do the old Today in History, in 1981, Pope John Paul II was shot and seriously wounded in St. Peter's Square by a Turkish assailant, Mehmet Ali Aka. And he was sentenced to life in prison in Italy in July of 1981, but was pardoned in 2000 at the Pope's request.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
then the other one,
talk about a humane thing to do. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then with Pope news again, and today Pope Leo XIV urged release of imprisoned journalists, affirms gift of free speech and press in an audience with some 6,000 journalists who descended on Rome to cover his election as of the first American pontiff.
Yep. Well, it was interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, because I know you got to cut. Lastly, on this date in 2016, the Obama administration issued a directive requiring public schools to permit transgender students to use both the bathrooms and locker rooms consistent with their chosen gender or identity.
Yeah. History is, well, how do I want to put this before we go to the break? History is more than important. It's kind of the fuel to how we go forward, I believe, because understanding and owning our history actually is a very empowering thing to do. And the history is made every single day because if we're blessed to live another day than this history of the day before. So, as always, Dave, thanks for your call and your contribution. We're going to hit this quick break, man, but stay safe.
All right.
And we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Be well, Dave.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, men of all races across the country volunteered to join the fight, despite the United States Army being heavily segregated. Black enlistees were mostly assigned to combat support roles. But this did not stop Lieutenant Colonel Paul L. Bates, who knew of the racism and pushed his soldiers to achieve excellence. The 761st Tank Battalion was formed in the spring of 1942. It contained 30 black officers, 6 white officers, and 676 enlisted men. The unit donned the nickname the Black Panthers, wearing patches on their uniforms with a panther on it and the slogan, "Come Out Fighting." And in 1944, the 761st was assigned to General George Patton's Third Army in France. General Patton gave a colorful speech to his crew, and the Black Panthers became the first African-American tank squad in World War II. And by the end of the war, the Black Panthers had fought further east than every other United States unit, receiving 391 decorations for their heroism.
Imagine having all the money you need for retirement, all the income, every month, guaranteed. That's Secure Future Investor. Secure Future utilizes an indexed annuity tied to growth in the U.S. stock market, but without any risk of loss ever. That's right. No matter what happens in the market, your investment can never decline. Down years, you're insured against any losses. Boom years, your retirement account grows exponentially to increase your worth. Whether the market is up or down, Secure Future Investor can set you up with guaranteed money for life income. It's the difference between thinking you have enough money to retire and knowing you're getting that retirement check every single month for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. Over 40 years old? Call now. 888-509-2228. 888-509-2228. Sponsored by GP Agency, Inc., Raleigh, North Carolina. Licensed in all states. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial professional before making an investment decision.
Active Liver is the easy way to get a daily detox and to keep you healthy and feeling your best. Find Active Liver at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. The R&B singer Cassie could testify as soon as today in Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports on Monday's first day of testimony.
Jurors saw the video of Combs dressed only in a white towel around his waist and socks, beat up his then-girlfriend Cassie in an L.A. hotel hallway in 2016. He's seen striking Cassie, throwing her to the ground, kicking her, and dragging her. He also takes her bags and a phone. The hotel guard at the time, Israel Flores, telling jurors he responded to the attack and escorted the pair to their room. The guard said Diddy told him, "Don't tell nobody," and he had a stack of cash. The guard thought it was a bribe and said, "I don't want your money." Combs' lawyers tried to sow doubt about aspects of what happened while not denying it in opening statements, saying Combs has a temper but is not charged with domestic abuse. At court in Manhattan, I'm Julie Walker.
President Trump is in Saudi Arabia on the first stop of his 4-day Mideast trip. He's meeting with Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The two leaders are expected to hold talks on U.S. efforts to dismantle Iran's nuclear program, in the war in Gaza, and more. Trump is also slated to take part in a U.S.-Saudi investment conference. While in Saudi Arabia, the president spoke with released Israeli-American hostage Eden Alexander. In a post on X, the U.S. Special Mideast Envoy Steve Witkoff said he met with Alexander and they spoke with Trump. Alexander was freed by Hamas Monday. He was held hostage in Gaza for more than 19 months. Nissan is slashing about 15% of its global workforce. That's about 20,000 employees. The Japanese automaker reported a loss Tuesday for the fiscal year that just ended after slipping vehicle sales in China and other countries and high restructuring costs. This is AP News. A series of military strikes last week by India and Pakistan brought the nuclear-armed rivals closer to a broader war. The tit-for-tat strikes also brought Kashmir into global focus as President Trump offered mediation over the dispute that has long been described as the regional nuclear flashpoint. A global aviation agency says Russia is responsible for shooting down MH17 over Ukraine in 2014.
The Council of the International Civil Aviation Organization has found Russia responsible for shooting down Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. The ruling raises the prospect of victims' families being paid compensation. A Dutch-led international probe concluded in 2016 that the Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur airliner was shot down in 2014 from Ukraine territory held by separatist rebels using a Buk missile system delivered from Russia. For its part, Moscow has denied any involvement in the MH17 tragedy.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops, a high in the upper 70s. East winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 59. By Wednesday, a slight chance for some showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy skies, high of 78 degrees. And Thursday, chance for rain and storms late, a high around 90. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 65.
Resetting your password, unsubscribing from emails, printing anything. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with an auto owner's insurance independent agent, getting the right coverage for your business doesn't have to be one of them, so you can get back to more important things, like learning how that printer works. That's simple human sense.
In Will and DuPage County, contact Paul Fazio at Fazio Insurance, 815-727-2611 or FazioInsurance.com.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Give us a call, send us a text, and an email. Great to have Michelle with us, and you know we're gonna kick it around every couple of weeks, every other week, I should say, to have Michelle on for a special little segment, Michelle's Moments. What's happening? I should say Moments with Michelle, and she'll bring us a topic. We'll talk about it, and we'll have some fun. So that'll be really kind of a fun thing to do. So in this next half hour, a couple things I want to go through, a couple clips I want to talk about are some items that are current, but also a couple topics that are a couple quick points that we'll hit on about people saying that the Dems are the ones, the Democratic voices and the Democratic Party are the ones that are stifling communication, and that we're negative around Trump and we don't want Trump to succeed. I want Trump to succeed. Let me put it this way. Let me be perfectly clear. I said this in different ways. I want the country to succeed. Donald Trump has already failed. He failed in his first term. I'll be perfectly clear, unapologetically. I want the country to succeed. I want Donald Trump to be gone. He is a cancer to this country. Someone could call that negative. I call it the truth. and look at the record. You want to bend yourself into a pretzel to say, well, the Dems they're cutting off people's free speech and they're stopping, this whole thing around, you guys are negative. You're nothing positive. That's a doggone lie. The positivity and the joy that came out of the campaign from Kamala Harris was earth-shattering. The problem is too many people didn't really want that. The negative comments, the negative party, the negative Nellies were the ones that were at the RNC talking about mass deportation. That's where the negativity is coming from. The Democrats are just trying to hold, we as progressive liberal Democrats, and I will speak loudly to this, we're just trying to hold the line from this carnage from this current administration. That's, I don't see any problem with calling out bad behavior. That doesn't mean you're being negative. It's just being truthful. And so bend yourself all you want to, those out there who want to say that the Democrats don't have anything but negative comments. No, we try to be inspiring and be honest at the same time about this. And we also know that we've got to make some changes. So we speak to that as well. But when it comes to this whole, this cancel this, cancel that, Dems are not doing this, Dems are not doing that. I'm not buying it because the Republicans are the ones that are causing the most harm and hate in this country right now. You go to a Republican event and it's filled with vitriol and anger. You go to a Democratic event, it's filled with a certain amount of frustration and disappointment, maybe some anger. But the anger is at the leaders and what they're not doing we want to make those things better. You go to a Republican event, it's about hating other people. It is. Look at the video or go to one yourself. Cancel culture and free speech is kind of what we're talking about. People want to be able to say what they want to say. And I think that we should, but it comes with a responsibility that goes along with that. So I came across another bit of commentary on that space that Devin and I put together, and we'll drop this one on you now.
I just think cancel culture is out of control. You can't say anything anymore without a mob coming after you. What do you want to say that you can't? Anything. Jokes, opinions, the truth. If I say anything controversial, what, I'm fired or boycotted? What happened to freedom of speech? Well, freedom of speech protects you from punishment by the government. If someone loses brand deals because they posted something racist online, that's just a consequence. No, there's a suppressive component to it. It's suppression. Do you support free markets? Obviously. Okay, so when a person decides that they're not going to support a person or business because they don't agree with their values, is that suppression or just a free market economy? Here's the thing. I can agree that there are instances where cancel culture has gone too far. But there are far more instances where somebody simply shows the world who they are, and people collectively say, nah. Okay, but nobody has the right to ruin someone's livelihood. Well, that could turn into a bigger conversation. I think you need to think of it this way. Let's say you say some horrible things in a group chat, and your friends decide to start a separate group chat without you. You didn't get arrested. You didn't lose any rights. You just crossed a line, and the group of friends said, we just don't want that energy here. Do you guys have another group chat?
So, cancel culture and free speech. We have a responsibility when we say something that it's going to be, maybe called into question. So, there is a, I guess you could say, like this piece says, there's a responsibility and there's a downside to saying certain things, but free speech is not. I mean, if you say something to somebody else and you veil it as free speech, there are consequences that can come with that. So I wanted to touch on that. It's one of those things that have been on my mind the last few days because people are saying, oh, the Dems are trying to stunt and stall freedom of speech. And no, that's not accurate at all. We just want people to be responsible for the things that they say from the White House on down. And that, to me, right now is probably as important as anything else that we're talking about, is making sure that people are speaking out and speaking their truth in a way in which is responsible, but also without the fear that they're going to suffer or endure some punishment. But if you do cross the line, know that there could be a price to pay for that. Michelle and I were just talking about at large Christianity, more specifically Catholicism and faith as it relates to politics and where we are. And in the same sort of conversation around freedom of speech, and what people get to say in the religious arena, I came across another sort of thought bubble as it relates to the new pope, but also to religion and how religion in the area of speech has been, for lack of better words, it's been co-opted and compromised by the far right. And I found a new voice that I'm going to be following and that's following me, and that I want to be able to bring to you guys that's got a little bit of background in this space. And so Devin and I put together a clip that we thought would be appropriate in this conversation. Monty.
Well, what a fabulous way to reintroduce myself. My name is Monty. I'm a former alt-right Christian fundamentalist. I went to church twice a week for 25 years straight, only private Christian schools, studied theology independently at the behest of my father. I graduated from Liberty University, and I studied theology in Israel. Y'all get so mad when I say the Bible shouldn't be in schools, not just because of the separation of church and state, but because it's not working in churches. You want to slap that into a classroom while you don't want to feed the kids that go to that classroom. You love talking about the 10 Commandments in a classroom when you don't feed the poor, which the Old Testament commands hundreds of times. You also don't follow the clothing restrictions or dietary restrictions. And when you get confronted with that, you backpedal and you say, oh, well, Jesus died on the cross for us, and so he abolished the old law. That's weird. Then why do you use it to demonize gay people? But since we're talking about Jesus, let's just see what Jesus actually said, because it's always the 10 Commandments and never the Beatitudes, I've noticed. And I wonder why that is. Could it be that the Beatitudes say, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Do you see that reflected in Americans, Christians culture right now, especially with our current administration? I don't. And Matthew 7, which I don't need to flip to because it's memorized, says, you will recognize a tree by its fruit. A good tree bears good fruit, and a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Now, what is that fruit? In Galatians, it says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Do you see that reflected in the Christian nationalist movement? Again, you love using the 10 Commandments and you love Old Testament God until it comes to commands like adultery, which Jesus revisited. I'll give you a perfect example of how you like to use the Bible to your advantage and not be honest about it. Purity culture is pushed on women when Jesus only ever addressed lust in men. And he said that if you look at a woman lustfully in your heart, you have committed adultery and you have sinned against her. You've also committed adultery if you divorce your wife for any other reason than infidelity. And you know what else he said about that lust? He said, if your eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it into the fire, because your lust is your problem. And you know what you guys do? That's not literal. So it's only literal when it's convenient. How fascinating. Slapping scripture on a poster for your own self-righteousness while you refuse to feed the poor and treat the immigrant with kindness, which the Bible commands, is not just an intentional misreading and misapplication of the Bible, it's blatant hypocrisy. It's what Jesus said in Matthew 23:25 when he said, woe to you, you Pharisees, you teachers of the law, you hypocrites. You clean the outside of the dish and the cup, but inside you are full of greed and self-indulgence.
Pretty powerful words. And to that end, as it relates to how religion is merged with politics throughout our country, it just is, irrespective of the faith that one ascends to. I've said this so many times: racism, sexism, Christian nationalism, and privilege are the four legs to the stool of which I think are the biggest literal problems in this country. There are others that you can build off of that, but I think it starts with those. Racism, sexism, Christian nationalism, and privilege. Right there. So, Monty's a new voice that will be playing some of her clips every now and again because she's, as I've said many times, she's read the word and she understands it, and the misapplication of it right now is one of the issues that we definitely are having in these great United States of America. We're going to take a quick break. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
WCPT 20th Anniversary Replay 2015.
Hey, welcome back to Out Chicago. We're talking about hair.
Hair?
And do you know whose hair is always going to be on topic?
Hillary.
Yes, Hillary Clinton. Just because she's a lady, we got to talk about how old she is, what she looks like, and what she's wearing.
Never talk about men's hair.
We don't do that at all. But but she threw her hat into the ring officially, announcing that she will be running for president in 2016. I say yay.
Scott and I love her.
That is awesome. I want her to actually be the Khaleesi. I wanted to have her just unleash all over Congress. I just want her to unleash her dragons.
She ain't gonna put up with any, what?
No. Those memes that were running around of her, on her BlackBerry, the "I got this" meme. That right there is enough reason to vote for her.
That's right.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Wow, the number of people that said I want that clip. I had a feeling, Devin, that might happen. So you guys send me an email to Richard at WCPT820.com. I will send you that clip from Monty Marty. She is, as I've labeled her, she's a real Christian. She understands the faith and the inappropriate use of words in the Bible. So I'll get that one to you. Just send me an email, and I'll take care of that. I said earlier that I wanted to chat a little bit about Trump's lack of deal-making skill. The art of the deal and all that garbage. And I say garbage. I don't want to put this hell on anybody, but if you read the book, I'll tell you what, if you just don't even buy the book, but go online, pull the book up, and look at the chapter listings. And you'll go, oh my God, how did this thing become a bestseller? Point of it all is, the art of the deal conversation and Donald Trump really isn't a thing. Donald Trump has BS'd his way through being able to being a good deal maker. We've all laid onto this one, and I do too, and I will right now. How do you fail a casino, Devin? That's a cash cow. You don't fail a casino. Now, another different conversation for a different day. Donald Trump is going to be in various places over these next few days, quote unquote, meeting with different leaders. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's going to roll in there and throw his normal conversation around, Dev. He's not going to say anything particularly enlightening. They know that. So he's easy to manipulate. We know that's the case. It's not just my hyperbolic statements. He doesn't understand global affairs enough to be able to roll into a conversation with any of these world leaders and have a cogent, effective conversation that benefits the United States and benefits the agreement with those nations. He doesn't. I haven't met him. I don't need to. I can see the results. Many people have said that we're, the folks that will tell the truth that were part of the first administration. Scaramucci is a good example. He laid bare to how absolutely, out there Donald Trump is, and others have done the same. And we've got various clips and videos clips that we'll be playing for you over the next few weeks in that space. But there's one particular journalist, reporter, news person, whatever you want to call her, that gets it as well and has the background to really understand that Donald Trump isn't really doing any deals. And so that would be none other than MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle. I'm going to let her drop some knowledge on you guys about the lack of dealmanship that's taking place right now.
Said it's a big deal. So why don't we take a look at actually how big a deal it actually is? JP Morgan said it would likely have a limited impact, especially since Trump's 10% baseline tariff on the UK is still in place. And the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick talked about that too. Watch this.
We still have a 10% tariff on, which will produce $6 billion of revenue for the United States. So we feel really good about the deal. You've heard the Prime Minister. He feels really good about the deal, right? And we started at 10% and we ended at 10%. And the market for America is better. And this is a perfect example of why Donald Trump produced Liberation Day.
There's a lot to unpack here. First, if you are wondering why Fed Chair Jerome Powell did not cut rates yesterday, I want you to look at that 10% tariff that remains on the UK. That is triple what it used to be. And this is the UK, our closest ally, where we do not have a trade deficit. Think about all those other countries where we actually do have them. They're going to likely be stuck with higher tariffs. And what does that mean? inflation ahead. And Jay Powell and pretty much all of Wall Street and the business community, they know this. So let's get to the actual deal part of the big deal. There was no final deal announced today, and President Trump eventually admitted that.
The final details are being written up in the coming weeks. We'll have it all very conclusive, but the actual deal is a very conclusive one.
We'll see. As I told you before, deals on average take 18 months. So to summarize, here's the president's agriculture secretary on Fox Business just before that Oval Office showcase.
Again, more details coming. It is an agreement in concept. There's a lot of details to be worked out.
It is a concept of a deal. Does that sound familiar? Well, according to my sources, this thing is pure theater. And the sources I am talking about are Wall Street investors, many of whom voted for Trump, many of whom are willing to stand up and give him a standing ovation and pat him on the back if it means we can get out of this trade war and get back to the tax cuts and deregulation they want. But even those guys looked at today and said it was just a show. A country we did not have a deficit with, a prime minister who has gone out of his way to charm Donald Trump, and a dressed up framework to distract us from real challenges ahead, like fewer cargo ships in our biggest ports. So this big deal announcement was carefully choreographed to give markets hope. And guess what? For the day, it worked. Markets shot up. But the real reason they went up may have more to do with the president changing his tune on China in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, the president said no reducing tariffs on China, no matter what. Well, today, he said we know the tariff is coming down. This is a clear shift and a softening. Add to that his other remarks today, telling folks to buy stocks and the market is cheap. Well, the last time he said that, it was just before he paused tariffs on all other countries back on April 9th. And what did markets do? They soared then and they soared today. But remember, markets search for any reason to get optimistic. But that does not change the facts on the real street. Ford is raising prices, industries are begging for exemptions, and stores are preparing for supply chain paralysis, meaning we, the United States consumer and our businesses, we pay the tariffs. That is the reality. And if you want to put lipstick on that pig, you better hope it's produced in the USA.
Boy, she just hits it out of the park. And I've been following Stephanie and listening to her for a long time and will continue to do so because she brings this message in a unique way when it comes to the business conversation around what Trump isn't doing versus what is happening. And so I'm going to continue down that space. But one of the things a couple of things that she highlighted that I want to try to touch on before we go to the break is this. I did something that kind of an anecdotal thing, and I'm going to expand on this over the next few days. To try to bring a little bit more substance to it. But I at least will give you this little bit of tease of information. There's been this conversation around people saying that shipping containers and such are not empty and that they are full and that they have, there's no real supply chain issues. And that commentary is coming from a lot of Republican leaders, elected officials, and Republican voices. On the ground, the people that are working in those capacities are saying a completely different thing because they're literally on the ground at shipping ports in different parts of the country. Governor Wes Moore spoke to this, literally right there in Maryland, what he's seeing on the ground. Others in Southern California saying the same thing. So I stopped in a store yesterday to grab a couple of things. And I won't mention the name of the store, but I will talk about this to try to make it more than just anecdotal. But I went down a couple of aisles, and I will be honest, very candid with you. I was shocked. There were a couple of aisles for certain products that were virtually empty. And I've gone to the store numbers of times over the last few years, and I've never seen that before. Never, not ever, maybe, possibly, except one time recently, and that was during COVID. There was an entire row, and I thought, well, maybe they're just, they're getting ready to stock the shelves. So I looked around. I looked for the items to see if they had them in they had them on crates or on pallets and they were going to be unloading and putting on, and that wasn't the case. So it took me, it did catch me, and I did say, damn. So sometimes I think that sometimes we have to do this, and I'll be the first to say that I don't do it all the time, and I've got to raise my attention to this, is we do have to get out of our own, normalcies, our own, for lack of better words, bubbles, if you will, our own, regular modes of going and doing, and step into something that we don't do and see it from a different perspective. I think it's good for our soul to do that, honestly, and certainly in this, political conversation and world that we're in, it's a good idea to do it. But I will tell you that it did surprise me. It did take me aback, like, wow. So I'm going to do a little bit more to make it a little bit more than anecdotal and check out a few other places and just get my own assessment and try to speak to that, because I think it's important for me to do that, to be able to speak to it a little bit more fully and factually with you guys. But when you hear people say it's not, we're heading toward, when you're heading someplace, unless you stop, eventually you get there. So I think we're already there. And I didn't need that to tell me that. There are other things that I know that we are already heading in that direction of this further craziness and chaos. Some might call it a recession. Some might call it supply chain disruption. But we are there. We are not heading there any longer. We have been on that road for a while, and it had nothing to do with Joe Biden's lack of leadership. It has to do with the fact that since January 20th, 21st, we've been heading in that direction. We're there now, and it can be laid at the feet of Donald Trump and his administration and the Republicans in the House and the Senate, and frankly, some state legislatures as well. So we're going to take a quick break, but I got to remind you guys that one of the cool things about one of our partnerships is the Credo Mobile phone and text line, 773-763-9278. Credo Mobile, a progressive phone company that is better for all people on the planet. Visit credomobile.com. We'll be right back.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moreylawoffice.com. That's More spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops, a high in the upper 70s. East winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 59. By Wednesday, a slight chance for some showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy skies, high of 78 degrees. And Thursday, chance for rain and storms late, a high around 90. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 65.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. We'll definitely try to get your calls in after we have our next guest on. But thanks to Michelle earlier for her bringing us a conversation around Catholicism, Catholics, politics here in the city of Chicago. And speaking of the city of Chicago, we are known for a lot of things. Obviously, we are the Windy City. We're known for our great sports teams. We're known for our great architecture. We're known for our great political leaders. Let's face it. We had a pope that's now from Chicago, Chicagoland area. We have a president. We have a first African-American senator, Carol Moseley Brown. I forgot to say that last week. We got a lot of firsts. But Chicago is also known for our arts. We've got some great theater groups here. We've got some great dance groups here. We have some of the best musical performances that come through Chicago every year, 12 months out of the year, not just, during the fair weather. And so, with that, in terms of our theaters and our theater groups, the Auditorium Theater has been it's a landmark in the city of Chicago. We talked about this earlier with Michelle in terms of the architecture. Just the theater itself, the building, the structure is an architectural marvel and part of our great history, but also is dance. And we had the opportunity to kind of make a connection with one, and you guys know this every now and again. I'd like to bring on one of the local artists or artist groups or performing groups that's taking or having an event at one of our big venues. Today, we have with us one of those people, one of those voices, and that would be the founder of the Hiplet Ballerina, and it is Homer Bryant. Good morning, Homer, and welcome to Choose Views. How are you this morning?
Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's a great day.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I said to Devin, who is our engineer here this morning, I said, here we are. We've gone from winter to sprummer, which is we just blew past spring and we're already just leaping into summer with some of the temperatures that are happening. But I know that's got to be great for you guys with performances that you're going to be a part of. But Homer, take a moment and share with our listeners a little bit about your background, a little bit about Hiplet Ballerinas. And you guys have got this great upcoming performance this weekend. Is that right?
Yes, we'll be at the Auditorium Theater, the famous Auditorium Theater, Saturday evening at 7:30. It's Hiplet, by the way, Hiplet. It's hip-hop and ballet.
Wow.
Hiplet is a dance style that merges classical ballet point technique with African, with hip-hop, with Latin, and other urban influences. So you're in store for a great show.
Well, what's exciting about it is, as I've said so many times, the merging of different forms of art and different performances. When it comes together, it touches so many different groups, because one group that maybe is to Hiplet's sort of origins. We got hip hop, we've got ballet, and we pull those traditions together. It's got so many influences. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, we have the Latin, we have the jazz. It touches every diversity, which is also amazing when it comes to inclusivity. So there's something for everyone.
So tell us a little bit about how you yourself got started, not with Hiplet, but tell me how you got started as a performer. What were some of the early influences in your life?
Well, I'm a kid from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands that used to dance all around the house and then was given an opportunity to come up to the States and perform. I ended up being a member of the Dance Theater of Harlem in New York. I traveled the world. I ended up doing the Wiz movie with Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, the black version. I still get residuals to this day. And then one thing led to another, and I traveled and performed, and then I ended up in Chicago with Chicago City Ballet and Maria Tallchief back in the day. And when that company folded, I had the opportunity to start the Chicago Multicultural Dance Center, which actually started as Bryant Ballet after my name. But the diversity that was coming into the studios, I changed the name to Chicago Multicultural Dance Center. And then I started doing what we were calling the rap ballet, which is what Hiplet turned into. We would go around to schools doing the rap ballet. I would rap everything about ballet because I noticed that these kids were so much into rap that if you rap something, they would understand it much better than trying to explain it to them. So rap ballet turned into Hiplet, and in 2009, I trademarked the word Hiplet because we went viral and we were getting so much publicity that it was unbelievable. And so here we are today, going to be at the Auditorium Theater this weekend. So it's come full circle because I perform at the Auditorium Theater with Dance Theater of Harlem and with Chicago City Ballet. So this is a full circle moment for me.
Wow, that is so cool. I got to ask you this question. All right, and it's a little bit of you got to do a little bit of a ranking for me. You were in New York and then you came to Chicago. Which of the two cities are you favoring these days?
Chicago is my home. It is clean and beautiful.
That was easy for you, but yes, I mean, I had to put you on the spot with that, Homer, because you obviously, you know, when you came to the States and you did the work that you did with the Dance Theater of Harlem, that was clearly an impactful time. And then, of course, the people that you performed with over the years, and were you part of some of the work that Cirque du Soleil performances had been put out?
Funny you should say that, because I used to audition people for Cirque du Soleil.
Wow.
I've worked with Miss Pierce, Saltimbanco, Alegria, yes.
Well, it's because
when Cirque du Soleil used to come to Chicago back in the day, I would be the one to go on to Into the Tent and warm the dancers up.
Wow. Well, I love Cirque du Soleil. It's there's something so unique and cool about it. It's unlike any performance that anybody, I think, has ever put together, at least in our lifetime. And the diversity that is in part of Cirque du Soleil, both in terms of the performers and the music and the costumes, is just fascinating to me. And I want to speak to that because you said yourself, diversity. Or you didn't say diversity. You said you noticed the different folks that were coming in as part of when you first were getting sort of hip going, and you said you made this adjustment. How has that impacted you in terms of the diversity, the different communities of culture that you've come across in making this such a successful group?
The inclusivity is amazing. When you come and see the hip ballerinas, we have girls on point, girls in sneakers, girls in heels, a guy in heels. It's amazing. So you come to the performance and you see a resemblance of yourself. You see a girl that's thin, you see a girl that's not so thin. You're like, oh, my God. A little kid's going to say to themselves, I see myself up on that stage.
Yeah,
and it's very Cirque du Soleil-like in the performance that we are going to do with the different pieces that we have. It will blow your mind. The backdrops are incredible. The dancers are absolutely amazing, technically trained. They can do everything that you ask them to do, whether it's the jazz, the African, the hip-hop, the hip play, which we're all about, and you'll be totally amazed. And by the way, you know what? Beyonce's in town Saturday night, so you got a choice, hip play or Beyonce.
Well,
you can walk to see hip play. You got to go park to see Beyonce.
Mayor Brandon Johnson.
And trust me, our tickets are not that expensive, okay?
Well, I'm getting text.
And we're here to stay. Beyonce will be gone in 2 days.
I love it. I'm getting text messages from people that are like, "Oh my God, it's amazing! I love ballet. Ballet." Here's one of the things that I'll say about performing, about artists. You know, there are folks who are in their 70s and 80s of different musical genres that are still performing. I mean, we all know and we hear about, folks like Mick Jagger and, on and on. The jazz guitarist George Benson, and there's so many people that are in their mid to upper 70s that are still performing. And I think one of the most unique and interesting things about performers is that you can tell it's their passion. It's your passion, because at an advanced age, for people to still be coming out on stage and performing, whether they're singing, whether they're playing a musical instrument, whether they are dancing or whatever the case may be, that they're still doing it. To me, that's encouraging to see folks that may be at an advanced age, still in the game, still bringing their best to the people that appreciate the art.
You see, the body, mind, and love of what you're doing is the instrument of your art. So it keeps you young.
Yeah, I think that's...
It really does. I'm 75. I know what I'm talking about.
I figured I'd let you... I was kind of giving you the lead a little bit on that. Yeah, I didn't want to put your age out there. I knew.
No, it's okay.
I knew your age, but I felt respectfully.
People always tell me, "Oh, you look 40, you look 50," but no, I'm 75, and I come into the studio every morning and I work on me first.
Yeah, and
I keep my body in touch with my mind.
And lean into that as we kind of with this brief segment that we're having today, kind of wrap up. But talk about why that's so important. listen, we're in a stressful time right now on a political, social level, economic level, and so many people are just trying to figure out how the next moment, if not the next day, is going to be for them. But you touched on something, and this is one of the things that I'd read about you, about how important it is to have that mind, body, spirit in alignment as best possible. Share with our listeners a little bit about that and you and how important it is to you, but for folks in general.
It's really important to be so aware of what you're doing and your surroundings. This DEI situation with the current government and administration is hitting every arts organization very hard, which means you're stopping kids from doing what they love the most. You're stopping adults. You're stopping people from really enjoying their lives. You have to stay focused and really stay close to each other and work with each other and think about your higher self. You cannot go around thinking, okay, woe is me, because the situation of the world is woe is me. But we have to stay on a higher level. We have to be conscious of the fact that, okay, things are not as good as we want it to be, but hey, we have each other. We have the arts. We have to keep that alive for the children, because the children are the future. We really have to keep working on making a difference. You know what? You need to leave the world better than you found it. And right now, I tell the kids, you are your ancestors' greatest joy right now. So they're saying, wow, look at what my kid is doing. Look at what my offspring is doing. So every generation should try to make the next generation better than they were. And that becomes a thing of positivity. That becomes a thing of really loving each other. I tell the kids, you have to love one another. I'm a good kid. I'm a great kid. And you tell these kids that, because there's so many bad things out there, And then dance is the thing that works on both hemispheres of the brain. Mm-hmm. It's a brain organizer. I think you need to go into the prisons and just teach classical ballet to everybody there. They'll be better for it. I'm serious.
Hip play in the
prison. It's a brain organizer.
Okay, all right. So let me ask you this question then, as we wrap up. Tell us why. Yeah. Tell us why. You said both hemispheres. I think I know, but I don't want to make any assumptions. But share with our listeners in the context of staying focused, staying positive, staying, in a mode that's moving us forward and connected to our community. How is dance operating the operating system, or if you will, to both hemispheres of the brain?
Especially with classical ballet. You have to hold on to the bar, which is not the drinking bar, but the dancing bar, with your right hand. Do exercises with your left foot. Turn around and put your left hand on the bar and do exercises with your right foot. So it organizes the brain. It's a patterning of the brain. It's a patterning of the hemispheres of the brain. It brings in coordination. You see, that coordination brings in determination, because you're trying to get it right on both sides. That determination brings in positivity, because then you say, wow, I did it. You're not going to be as good as on one side as the other, but the fact that you're a work in progress, and you're working and you're working and you're working. Practice makes progress, so you get better and better and better. Dancers are the ultimate athletes, by the way.
Yeah. I remember, I got to tell you this, Homer, and having someone like you on, for me, it's important to be able to bring this type of inspirational conversation in this crazy time that we are in, to show that our communities are part of our grounding. But I remember back in the early 80s, talk about dances and athleticism. One of the NBA basketball teams, the Philadelphia 76ers, started to take ballet classes. They had a ballet instructor come into their practices, and they would, as part of their practices, have the team actually learn certain ballet moves and tie those into coordination moves on the court. I thought that was fascinating. This is going back into the early 80s. It was the Philadelphia 76ers that did that. You may or may not recall that. But to your point, in terms of dancers and their athletic ability, it is pretty amazing.
It absolutely is. And actually, back in the 80s, I would bring a lot of basketball and football players into my studio and teach them ballet moves and dance.
Wow.
Absolutely. I've had private lessons with different basketball players. It says, Listen, Lady Gaga came in here from private lessons about 7 years ago.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Homer Bryant. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying ballet does put your body in touch with your mind. It is truly just about the greatest discipline of all time.
Well, we hope folks.
So you will see nothing but ballet and hip-hop and hip play come Saturday evening at 7:30 at the Auditorium Theater.
There you go. And how,
like I said, hip play or Beyonce.
Hip play or Beyonce. Well, let me put it this way. I think both are going to be great, but we're really happy and proud and thankful that you were able to kind of take a few minutes to chat with us this morning and reemphasize.
Well, thank you, Richard. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, man. It's my honor to have you with us. Check out Hip Play Ballerinas Dipped in Versatility this Saturday, May 17th at 7:30 p.m. at Chicago's landmark stage at the Auditorium Theater. Homer, thanks for being with us this morning. We really appreciate you stopping in.
Thank you, sir. Blessings to you. Have a great day.
I will. You too. Bye now. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick, tiny break. When we come back, we're going to grab a couple of quick calls and wrap up today's show. 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
Hey, get in. What? Who are you? I'm future you. Constipation with belly pain still coming back? Yeah. Mia, our doctor figured it out. She said it's irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, and Linzess could help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Homer Bryant is 75 years old and still in the game, still fighting, and that's, I would hope, would be an inspiration to all of us in that space, that we still have something to say, we still have something to do, and we still can have and should have impact. So if you get a chance to check out their performance at the Auditorium Theater, you should do that if you're here in Chicago. And if you're not, look him up. Really great dude, and has been doing it for a long time. And what I took from his one of the things that I specifically took from his segment is the message around keeping the mind, body, and spirit in alignment in this crazy time. And he said it. He didn't shy away from the fact that he's like, yeah, this current administration and politics are crazy. They're going to impact us. But we can still have community, and that's the thing that I keep emphasizing that I want us to hold on to and stay true to. Speaking of community, a couple of our folks that are listening that have called in. Let's go to Roosevelt here in Chicago. Good morning, Roosevelt. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, my friend. How are you doing this morning? Hope you're well.
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Hey, listen, I want to follow up on what you said earlier with the executive order that Trump signed.
Hey, Roosevelt, you got a little bit of an echo going on. I just wanted to make mention of that. I don't know if that's where you're sitting. Or your
how's this? Is this better?
A little bit better. Just sit still and talk. There you go.
Okay. Sorry, I was walking around here. Okay, so I want to follow up on what you said. Now, I just sent you something. Last Thursday, J.D. Vance mentioned and said that we would not be getting involved between India and Pakistan. Mm-hmm. Now, that was Thursday. On Saturday, on Truth Social, Trump says the opposite. He says that we were involved in the talks, and all of a sudden he took credit for all this stuff that, as far as the peace talks. Now, I started thinking, wait a minute. If it was something big, such as on a peace accord or peace talks or anything like that, they would have blasted it all over the media, getting to the point of, being involved. Okay, so where was that at? So I started thinking there's something wrong. So I figured it out. Now I'm going to send you something else that says the opposite, and that's India revealed that the peace talks were between both countries, India
and Pakistan. Yeah.
And Pakistan on their own. On their own. So there's another perfect example of the okey doke, of sleight of hand, the three-card Monty that he pulls. Because let's face it, I don't know how many executive orders he signed, but I'm pretty sure that none of them were to give us any positive outlook or any positive, let's say, to further our country as far as the economy.
Roosevelt, check this out. To your point, the executive orders at this number of executive orders are two things. They show Trump's inability to actually negotiate and to work on and work through problems. I'm just going to sign it, and that's the rule of the land. That's why he's using executive orders at the number that he is. It's also a distraction from some of the things that Congress is trying to slip in and slip through. So let's also remember that the executive orders to some degree are a distraction from Congress, let me be specific, Republicans in Congress, in the House, that are doing the things behind the curtain that we're not seeing. That's why we have to pay attention. But I agree with you as it relates to the executive orders. Sorry, India and Pakistan. Once again, Trump does not know how to negotiate, doesn't how to work through problems. Signing an executive order is a coward's way of getting things, quote unquote, done, or at least out there for people to go, oh wow, look, Daddy did another big thing for us.
Yeah, and you know something, all through the first presidency that he had, he constantly was going after the Biden family, and it went on and on. And what did we find out? That one of the lawyers, if I don't remember the guy's name, was lying. One of the lawyers that was cooking up the laptop. Yeah. And remember when he kept on bringing up Burisma? He couldn't even pronounce it, Burisma and all that stuff in Ukraine. And Biden, remember the Biden crime family and all that? Yeah. So they all cooked it up and they all made it stick thanks to Fox News, OAN, Truth Social, and
dropping the ball from MSNBC and CNN, to be honest.
Exactly. You're right. I'm glad you brought that up.
They dropped the ball.
Essential.
They had access to the same information, and they just chose to not report it in a way that really spoke the truth. They couldn't say the word lie. He lied. He's lying. They could say, a variety of other ways to soften it. And I believe that that's one of the contributing factors. I don't care what anybody says, as to why so many people stayed at home, because they were caught up in that fury and weren't able to get themselves out of it. Roosevelt, I've got to try to grab one more call before we wrap up today, but thanks for the reminder. Do me a favor, email me the information you were talking about, because sometimes it's hard for me to open it through the text, okay? Send it to me by email.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye now. You too. Bye-bye. All right, let's go to Victor real quickly. Northwest side of the United States of America. Good morning, Victor in Oregon. How are you today?
Good morning, Mr. Chu. How do you do?
Very well,
my friend.
You're
the man with the view all the time, baby. You got the correct view also.
Thank you.
But, the news is full of Donald Trump saying over and over again that he would be stupid not to take a $400 million luxury jet from Qatar. But I guess Donald Trump doesn't realize that Qatar is sponsoring the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas, terrorist organizations. And why wouldn't he think that that luxury jet wouldn't be full of surveillance and spyware from the nose to the tail?
Well, and Victor, what about this? What about this? To let's say that they go in, to your point about this, about what spy equipment is inside of this jet. Okay, let's say they go in and they find they strip it down. The American community taxpayer dollars from everything that I've read, that we're paying for that. And so for any Republican, any maggot, any center-right person that's saying that DOGE and this administration are about saving money and waste, fraud, and abuse and all these other comments, they're out of their doggone mind because we're going to spend that money. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to have to ask yourself, why is Qatar giving Donald Trump a $400 million luxury jet in the first place anyway? You know,
to him,
you're right.
Why not give it to the American people? Why not give a number of smaller, if they were genuinely interested, and if he were, as a leader, interested in helping communities, why doesn't he then say, you know what, we're going to we're going to take that and we're going to sell it and take the money, the proceeds from that, and we're going to put that into 50 communities throughout the country and provide them with some support to help in certain areas. This is where MAGA is out of their damn minds, because they can't even say, okay, wait a minute. If you're going to take it, then take the money and use it for the communities. I don't know. Call me crazy.
Richard, we certainly know that Qatar certainly wants something in return, some sort of favor. They're not going to give $400 million luxury jet to anybody without some kind of payback. And, Donald Trump, he doesn't care about anybody else. He only cares about Donald Trump. So that money, he won't ever sell that jet and donate the money to any of our people here in the United States. Around town, Donald Trump, who wants to be the next Nazi leader, is known as SSOB.
Right and on.
The first S stands for stupid. So Donald Trump thinks he's stupid if he doesn't take this jet. But let me tell you, he's stupid if he does take this jet.
Good point, Victor.
The people aren't going to put up with it.
Well, thank you, my friend, for calling today. We got to wrap up the show, but as always, I say thank you for being with us, and we appreciate your call.
Well, you have so many different points of view, Richard, and you're always on the money.
Thank you, sir.
So stay with it. Thank you so much for your service.
I appreciate you, Victor. Have a great day. Thanks for now. Bye now.
You too, buddy.
Wow, guys. We ran downhill today. Thanks for everybody being with us. Thanks to Michelle Peltier. Thanks for Homer Bryant for being with us. And thanks to you guys for your calls, your texts, and your emails. As I say always, end of the show, take a deep breath, guys, and make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
The Sports Cubicle. Commissioner of the American Association of Professional Baseball, Joshua Schaub.
So our players are not playing to develop to make it to the major leagues. They play for the name on the front of their jersey. They play for each other and they play to win. So the style of baseball is completely different. They're literally trying to get guys out. They're literally trying to move runners over. They're trying to win the game. So I just want to note that difference as well.
The Sports Cubicle, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on WCPT. This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, a group of Native American soldiers known as the Code Talkers became silent heroes. The U.S. military faced challenge of secure communications on the battlefield, and these men, primarily from the Navajo tribe, were enlisted to develop an